Hello and welcome to the 142nd episode of the Footpointing Remixed podcast. I'm your host, Troy Cochran, along with my co-host, Joan Brown. Hello, Joan.
Hey, Troy, 142.
Yes.
That's great.
And we've both been extremely busy. You've started a new job, and I've had some things going on here. We've both been extremely busy, which is why a podcast hasn't come out for a while, but we thought it would be great to do one on innovative or creative things that have happened in education in 2016.
So yeah, it's the yearly wrap-up. We've done this before.
Yes, we have.
And we worked hard. We've got 50 innovations, which
50, yeah.
That's right.
I was surprised, I have to say. 2016 was a long year. Some things I was like, really, that happened this year? And yeah, it did. So we'll just go through those and talk about our thoughts on a lot of it.
Well, first of all, what's an innovation to you?
To me, an innovation is something that takes, that fills a role in, it either takes an existing process, feature, idea, something like that, and improves it in a creative way, or something that fills a role that people didn't have a way to fill that role before.
I like that definition because I was thinking in terms of helping teachers do their jobs, become better teachers in some way, and that anything where technology can either make it more efficient, provide you more time to work with students individually, to personalize the education, all that stuff is an innovation. And then just the wow factor. I mean, I think sometimes we look at things and we go, that is just so cool. We're scratching our heads trying to figure out how it's going to be a part of education. We know it is, but we just haven't made that final leap. So some of these are like that, but I want to start.
Yeah, and sometimes,
like
I mean, sometimes you see that wow item, and you know, things that wow me are things I have no idea how they did it.
And that's
what?
Totally agree.
Sometimes you look at it for a little while and you're like, oh, I won't be able to find a way to use this in education. When you think, gosh, this is a year away, and 4 years from now, you're still like, wow, this is a year away, you know. So, but some cool things come out we'd like to talk about. So why don't you go ahead and start?
Number one on my list is a just cool thing, and it came out very like last month. It came out of the Chrome experiments, which are all totally blow your mind cool. But this one you can pull up. It's a blank black screen, and you can draw anything, any shape, anything, and it will search the entire satellite database and find you a landform that is in that shape. So if I drew a circle, I might find the top of a volcano, and it'll tell you where that is, and it'll link to it, and then you can read more about that place. And it's just amazingly fun, and would be a great introduction to geography and landforms and all that. So that's called Google Maps Draw.
That is pretty interesting. I haven't seen that yet. So. Google Classroom had several new features added this year. 4 that we could think of. The parental notifications, or what they call guardian access or guardian summaries.
That's right. That really was a game changer for some school districts that had to be able to communicate with parents. I know that. Topics. I have to say, at the high school level, for kids that have to study for final exams, there is nothing like having topics in Google Classroom. They can go back to the beginning of the year, and they can remember the progression of what they were learning.
Right. It's nice when, since the classroom is just a stream, and I've got months of assignments or announcements just streamed along, the students can just click on the topic and jump to the one just related to that specific idea. And they opened up the API for other, and that's what's added a lot of neat features to Classroom, just by sending out the API so people could develop off of it.
Yeah, so now you see, and I'll mention a few later, that now you can just import your Google Classroom roster, and you've got accounts elsewhere, and you can just assign it directly from another app. It's phenomenal. So moving to that, exactly, 5 is a company called Quizlet. They're not new in 2016,
Right.
but they came up with Quizlet Live. And I have to say, this is the first collaborative, competitive game I've ever seen, and it ignites a class. I don't know if you've ever seen a classroom using Quizlet Live, but you have to have a cooperative group of 3 in order to play the game. And so you're putting your whole classroom into groups of 3s, and it makes it super simple to do. You, as the teacher, don't have to do any of that managing. It happens automatically. So it's just out of this world amazing.
And can we jump ahead and include number 20 with that, which is Kahoot?
Oh yeah. Kahoot is I don't think it started in 2016, but again, it took off, and more and more schools are just saying this is the go-to review session with my students. Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. I can remember it back maybe 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, but you're right. This year it seems like every conference I go to, that's the cool tool that a lot of people are presenting with, and it's really taken off this year.
I'm gonna.
One that's came.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just gonna jump ahead to what number am I on here? Google Timelapse is number 6, and I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what Google Timelapse is. Now, many people have used Google Earth, and they've used that slider at the top to go back in time with the satellite images. This is a much more precise time lapse of specific areas in the world. And I took a look at the Columbian Glacier in Alaska, and I actually was shocked how small it is now compared to what it was in the 80s when the satellite imagery started. And you're talking about teaching climate change or any kind of environmental change in science class. This is a visual that you can't miss.
And the other thing, they allow it to be embedded into a website. So if you want to embed it into your own website or blog post, to make it easier for students to access, that's another feature that's great. BreakoutEDUs, they started.
Those are amazing. Amazing.
I don't know if they quite started in 2016, but they've really jumped. They've really broken out in 2016. I just did two this week to prepare for, rather than show Christmas movies, the teachers decided to do breakouts and have problem-solving activities and things like that. So, So and if you're not familiar with BreakoutEDU, it's just a kit that has different locks and different tools in order for you to create sort of like a breakout room. And they have more and more games created all the time, so that you can come up with different things for all age groups to do as a team building activity or an introductory activity, or a lot of different kinds of activities with these. So.
And don't forget, there's a digital BreakoutEDU as well, just using Google Forms and data validation, and they're fun too. You can build them yourself. Mm-hmm.
Expeditions. Now, this is not, we heard about it 2 years ago, I think it was, in ISTE, but they finally got it to market in 2016.
Exactly, and Google Expeditions is a well-produced product. If you want to buy the kit, sure, but they work on any phone. You can have students load the Expeditions app, and if you get yourself set a Google Cardboard, you're off and running. It really is simple. The lesson is well thought out, well planned for you. Anybody can pick it up and run a lesson.
There's a lot more. I looked at it about a month ago, and there was a lot more than now. I can't put a number on it, but I would say at least 100, don't you think?
Yeah. Easily. And virtual reality itself. It is taking off. You're seeing more than just Google Cardboard now. I know Google has come out with their own virtual reality glasses, but there are so many companies now that are getting some more rugged versions. So watch for that. It's going to be bigger. It's just in its infancy.
Well, we did expeditions with iPads when I didn't have enough cardboard for the entire room. I had like 3 cardboards running, and then the rest of the kids just had an iPad, and they could pull up expeditions and look at it, move it around, and see it just like it. It wasn't as immersive as virtual reality, but it was. I was still able to do a whole classroom expedition with it. So that was one way. If you don't have the devices, or you don't have cardboard, or you don't want to spend the money on the whole set, if you have some iPads, you can do it.
Troy, you wrote number 9.
Yeah, Google Docs research, and that's not particularly innovative. What I wanted to point out was they had taken it away and put it back in, because I guess they got a lot of feedback that people liked it, and so it's been re-added back in. So I think 2016 was good, that even though they took it out, they recognized that people wanted it and they put it back in, so it is now back there.
Yeah, and I believe that it should be there. It's a great tool. I'm going to lump 10, 11, and 12 together to some extent, because they're all about really good design. So the new Google Sites is really building a website that is usable on any device, but it's so simple. Anybody can build the website. There's nothing to really learn ahead of time. And I feel as though that's great for the younger grades, because they now have that entry point of an authentic audience. They can build something that looks realistic. And the same thing is true with Adobe Spark. Now, if you haven't looked at Adobe Spark, I am so impressed, because you can not only, you can create a video that is beautifully edited without any effort, but also they call it a web story. It's really very similar to the new Google Sites in its structure. And then finally, you can just do a post, like a social media type post, and they're all gorgeous. So it makes, again, accessibility for the younger grades, but it makes it also more about the content rather than fiddling with tools and trying to get something designed and out there and published. Google Docs templates. If you open up Docs now, you, instead of trying to find that old templates gallery that was really getting crowded with a lot of not so great designs, Google Docs templates are at the top, and you can choose different varieties, including in education. They've got lesson plan templates, they've got note-taking templates, they have a rubric template. You've got it. It's all set up there so that a student or a teacher can design something fast and it looks professional.
And can I jump off? I just noticed we don't have it, at least I don't see it anywhere else, is similar to the templates, the Google Slides added the Explore feature.
It's down there. It's on there.
Oh, it is? Okay.
We'll probably hit it. Yeah, let's hit that.
The Google Slides Explore feature is, there's a little button at the bottom that says Explore. You click on it and it gives you suggestions of how you could make your slides look better. I was showing that to my kids the other day, because they were doing actually a presentation for another class, and a couple of the kids asked me for feedback, and I said, you know, if you just click that button, it'll give you some ideas on how to make this look better. And they were loving that, because it made their slides look actually cleaner and more professional.
Yeah, it actually suggests, based on the content that's in your slide, it suggests on the right-hand side some designs that'll work for it. And I've been impressed with, it knows whether you're being sort of lighthearted or whether you're being serious in the designs that it chooses, and the color schemes and all. So I think that's got to be machine learning. I really do. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and speaking of machine learning, that's what I tell people, that if they want to get into programming, that's what you need to learn now, because that's a big feature.
Mhm. So Troy, I got number 14 here, and
Okay.
as you all know, well, you probably don't, Troy and I are Google certified innovators. And way back, that program started, but in the last 2 years, and I believe the Google certified Educator 1 and Educator 2 came out in 2015. And that allows for anyone online to take a course and take a test, and you can use this badge that says you are an Educator 1 or Educator 2 certified. So that was Google's innovation, and all you have to do now is do a search for certified educator, and you will be amazed at how many other certified educator programs there are. First of all, Microsoft now has their own.
Right.
Common Sense Media has one. BrainPop has one. Newsela has one. PBS has one. Raspberry Pi has one. I think I could go on. There are certified programs throughout. And if you're interested in trying to get to become an expert or a trainer or someone who simply is the go-to person in your school, I would start looking at some of those products and seeing, hey, maybe I can go through their training and get a little badge I can put up. And
I know I maybe shouldn't say this publicly, but the Footpointing Network is working on something like that.
Oh.
I don't know when or if it will come to fruition, but I know that that's been talked about and is in the works. So.
Right. You make your own innovators out there. Okay. What number are we on?
15 is the Hour of Code.
Yeah, have you looked at it this year? Did you experience Hour of Code this year?
We did, yes. We've done Hour of Code, and I was also going to mention CS First has gotten a lot better this year. But first about the changes in Hour.
Hour of Code has beefed it up to the point they have 172 options for students and teachers to look at during that hour without any previous prep, and you can start coding right there. It's unreal. I mean, that was quick. From the previous year when I think there were probably only 10 or maybe 12 options.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is...
You know what? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and what it's leading to is, like you were saying, CS First. This is leading to programs that are curriculum-based for the whole year.
Right. And that's what I've noticed. When I did the Hour of Code in the past, it was an hour of code and the kids were done.
Mm-hmm.
And we did an hour of code school-wide, and now even today, I was walking past classrooms, and some of the teachers were still doing the code.org, and the kids were trying to figure out how to continue to move on and do things like that. So, 3 weeks later from the Hour of Code, and people are still doing it as part of their regular classroom activities, which is what I always wanted to happen, but couldn't figure out how to make that step. And CS First is Google's computer science club, in essence. And they started about, I think it was 2 years ago, and I tried it this first year, and it was not well designed.
Mm-hmm.
This year, one of my teachers decided to do it, and she sent away for a free kit, and they mailed her these little passports and stickers for each, so the kids can do the activities and then take their passport to her to get their sticker when they complete certain levels and things like that. And they've really turned it into an entire curriculum that you can follow for weeks and months. And that was third grade that was really into it with their passports and everything. So
I love that. I like having a little bit of a tactile version along with the online.
Yeah.
It's good for students. As we said, there's always a smattering of Google innovations in here. Number 15 is that now you can put images in your multiple choice possibilities on a Google form, and that's been a groundbreaker for math. Just so they can get those formulas and equations in there that you can choose. All right.
I'll skip to 18 and then you can go back to 17 or
okay.
16. I'm not sure. But open education has been mean, that's been around for a long time, the open ed movement, and you know what MIT does with I'm drawing a blank on their open source classrooms, but the Department of Education is really pushing open education this year.
They are, and we're hearing more like CK12 and some of the other open education sources are just blooming. We had one near the bottom, in fact, which Amazon Inspire is
Right.
really the concept is going to be a whole database of open educational resources. And they're still trying to kick that one off. I'm not sure how it's going. They're trying to get a lot more teachers to input their lesson plans and their resources. That's where it last was that I checked it. But I think it's going to be big because Amazon really has put their name behind it. And you know, it's their first dabble into education. So we'll see if...
Yeah, and it's good to see a repository of, because it was always hard to, you always still had to do a Google search to find all the open ed stuff, and it's sometimes hard to find.
It is, but I think it's getting better.
And I know I'll add ReadWorks Digital, I think it's 47. That is a website, free website that collects open reading materials and then puts quizzes and things with them, and you can assign them to your students and all that. It's similar to Newsela, but it has a few more features than Newsela does. And so that's a good one.
So if you're talking about free resources, PBS iBooks just kicked off, which is actually only through iTunes. I'll give you that. But they're attempting to create really interactive textbooks, if you will. I mean, I know one of them's a Spanish book, one of them's a science book that I was looking at, and they're trying to offer them for free. Okay. We're jumping all around in our list of 50, and that's perfectly fine because I'm sure nobody's trying to hold us to this, are they? Here's a great concept. This one's definitely innovative. Number 16 is ListenWise. Let me explain what this is. NPR has a site that is working on improving listening skills with students. And they're talking about particularly secondary education. They posit the situation that most younger students in elementary schools do get the opportunity to listen because their teachers read books aloud to them. But by the time they get to the secondary ed, they aren't getting the opportunity to practice listening skills with a teacher. That's what ListenWise does. They take NPR podcasts and they've created lesson plans and quizzes around them so that you can practice your listening skills at an older age. I am totally amazed, and I really want to delve into it further, but it's called ListenWise.
That does sound like a good one.
Maybe I should transition into wiser.me.
Oh, yes.
Since we said ListenWise. Now, number 18, wiser.me, interactive worksheets that are graded electronically. I know everybody who's listening that's a teacher just perked up. Yes, it is a worksheet, but it's something more than a worksheet because you're also embedding video. You've got ways that students can draw and connect, matching. You've got fill in the blanks, and it all grades it automatically. And you're getting that feedback instantly to the students. Pretty slick interface. Most teachers like the interface really well.
And speaking of worksheets, and I hate to categorize this as a worksheet, but
I know.
HyperDocs,
Mm-hmm.
they promote it as a digital worksheet sometimes, and that surprises me because we know Lisa Highfield quite well. She was actually in our Google Teacher Academy. But HyperDocs has taken off this year, and it's using a Google Doc to put interactive links and features into it so that when you deliver a lesson or a project to students, they have this digital resource in their Google Drive. It's just a doc that they can go find what they need and maybe steps to a process or something. And, at first, I thought when I heard it, and I don't mean to criticize Lisa because I think Lisa's great, at first I was like, you've always been able to do that in Google Docs. What's the big deal? But then when my teacher started using it, and they love how easy it is. The idea is what I think is innovative, and it's really jumped this year and taken off.
I want to give special kudos to Lisa because she really thought through the methodology, and this is the perfect beginning a blended classroom. It really has that student choice option in there that is very hard for teachers to wrap their head around, and it works really well. And her book is small reading, so you can learn this quickly and use it the next day, and you're off and running. It's really well thought out. So well thought out. Oh, I want to throw in something that's probably not well thought out that I added here. Number 21, I said Snapchat lenses. Now I probably am going to get thrown out of the room for even saying this, because most teachers find this probably the most annoying invention of 2016. But really, I only bring this to the attention of teachers because sometimes when the kids are enthralled with a feature, an app, a game, maybe it's time that you figure out why. And this one is all about creativity and self-expression. And these lenses on Snapchat, they can make themselves into a taco. They can put funny hats on. They can write all over it, and it becomes their own individual self. I find it'd be a great get to know you lesson.
Yeah, that would be. I was, and I told you off air, I was talking to my art teacher about using this type of concept of the filters, either on Instagram or Snapchat, to teach photography skills and to say, what makes this good? How does this change the photo to make it better? And can you take that photo without the filter and things like that? And using something a lot of the kids already know, and turn it around and say, how can we use this to learn about photography?
Yep, beautiful idea. And it's certainly a lot easier than Photoshop. So, we're talking about Snapchat here. I'm going to ease into number 22, parental controls. There are some companies who have put out some extremely easy to set up routers, particularly Google is one of them, but also a company called Torch. Disney has one now. Which are phenomenally simple parental controls that you can use your smartphone and just manage your network at home. And you can do things like pause the internet on certain users, or you can filter out certain websites. It's all done on your phone, and it's real simple. The old parental controls used to cost a lot of money, because they would be a subscription service, and then they were complex and they were hard and they didn't always work. So I would take a look at some of these new routers out there for parents, and just, that home to school connection here.
The next one, I'll jump one. I put EdTech Team Press, and really not specifically them, but all the sort of independent, like Dave Burgess Consulting's one of them. I found one the other day called Hack Education. But people are using self-publishing platforms, a publisher, and so a lot more education books are getting to the market. A lot more ideas are being heard, and a lot better than your traditional publishing house. And I think it's grown in 2016. I think it's going to really grow next year. But EdTech Team Press has started their own press. Dave Burgess has started his own press. I mean, there's a lot of people doing this because the self-publishing platforms have become so easy that you don't need to go to a big publishing house to get some quality work published.
And I think there's a lot of teachers getting ready to publish. They're starting to do more and more.
Yeah.
Right. This next one I want to talk about here has to do with books again, but this one's definitely innovative. It's number 27, called Editions at Play, and it's one of those Google, I'm not sure who designed it, but these are free well, excuse me, they do cost, but they're HTML5 books, and you cannot get these books in any printed format at all because they are active books. I was looking at one that I can't even describe to you. The words move. I have to swipe and do things within the book just to read. It's something that may be in the future, but you can go to editions@play.withgoogle.com and take a look at, I was looking at the cats and dogs book, but they have about 4 or 5 that are up there ready for you to download and look at, but you can just take a sample and see it. Hard to describe. The other book-oriented one is number 37, Storybird. And if you're trying to build an online children's book, Storybird has the drawings and animations already done for you, and you just write the words, and it's just as beautiful as it can be. Has that lovely turn page swipe to it, and even kids can create these for free.
I'll do the next one. That's 25 is because there's a lot of them related to live video, and I put Facebook Live, not because Facebook Live specifically is innovative. They just, you know, did live video, which, you know, a lot of other people were already doing. They brought it more mainstream because of their audience level. I mean, where if you're on some of the other platforms, you don't hit nearly as many people as you do if you're on Facebook Live. And so
Wait,
that's...
What, Google Hangouts? Are you referencing?
No.
But that's what one of the issues has been, and so Google has chosen, instead of Google Hangouts, they've decided to do YouTube Live instead, right, when you want a big broadcast audience. And I think that's part of it, is that is the name. The YouTube name really holds clout, even though it's owned by Google as well. And
right,
that's why Facebook also brings that clout. And then I can transition into Skype as well. Skype now has its own education section. Skype in the Classroom is an amazing resource for lesson plans, getting connected to other classrooms, other experts in the field, telling you how to find them. It's really well done for teachers. So all of these live video feed type things have become, I guess in 2016, they've really taken off, I think, because schools actually have good enough Wi-Fi they can handle the streaming now.
That could be a major reason that's come into play. And just since we're talking about video and YouTube, I would like to mention YouTube Red, which a lot of people don't know anything about. I got a trial of it for the last few months, and it is $10 a month, and it takes away all commercials on YouTube. And so you just click play a video, and it's amazing. It plays the video. It doesn't play a commercial first.
Nice.
And it comes. It includes music, YouTube Music with it, which is a nice feature too, because you can listen to YouTube Music on your phone and not use as much data, because it doesn't play the video, it just plays the music part of the video. But I liked it for as far as classroom use. If I'm showing a video in class, I don't have to worry about, okay, well, now I got to skip the commercial, you know, and things like that. And it's not a huge inconvenience, but it is an inconvenience. And or the banner that pops up at the bottom, and then you have to click it off so everybody can see the whole video. And that's YouTube Red eliminates those. And then, particularly if you have like younger kids that want to watch videos, maybe for a project or learning or something, if they can access YouTube Red, they don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about them getting confused by an ad popping up when they thought another video was going to pop up or something like that.
I'm going to rattle through some more Google Suite, G Suite, right?
Okay,
It
yeah.
got the new name, so is that innovative? I suppose. But let me rattle through a few more of those innovations. Google
Okay.
Forms now has quizzes. The quizzes are automatically graded. That took it to a whole new level for forms. Forms used to be more like surveys. Now they're really becoming assessment tools. Integrated within Google are a few of these wonderful scripted add-ons. Autocrat, a lot of people have used that. That's just a mail merge, but it got a upgrade this year, 3.0. So now that you can mail merge images and links as well in your letters, so they don't have to be printed letters. Also, for those of you who know what Doctopus and Goobrick are, they got some upgrades this year as well. So just as a quick overview, I consider these the best feedback loop tools out there for teachers. Doctopus being a way to follow an assignment, to watch what students are doing, to be able to give them feedback constantly, but then Goobrick layers that rubric on top. All of it got upgraded this year so that Goobrick is not a separate load that you have to put in your browser, and Goobrick now has audio feedback, all kinds of text feedback. The interface is easier to use. It's more intuitive, going step by step from Doctopus to Goobrick. All of it works better, and it's just easier to deal with. Those are all, I mean, Google's always innovating. I'm sure we're missing some this year, but those are amazing upgrades.
I'm looking at two PBS learning media that goes along with a lot of our features, not only video, but they have a lot of PBS videos available, but just clips of videos and things like that that you might not have access to in other places. But they've also increased their access to Google Classroom, which is another nice feature.
And the learning media interface is really wonderful because the lesson plans are good, they're thought out. They take smaller clips of video that are total succinct right for the lesson. It makes sense. If you haven't ever done any searches in there, you can do it by age, by curriculum, really well thought out. Smithsonian Learning Lab is new and similar concept. Using the resources of the Smithsonian Institute, you've got lesson plans already ready, you've got resources that align with the lesson. So take a look at that if you haven't. That was number 32 on our list. We're jumping all over. This is getting a little, I'm worried we're gonna miss one or two, but I hopefully we'll get them all in there. I do have a few that have to do with data, and I'm kind of a data fanatic. So let's start with U.S. News Map, because I happen to be a former history teacher. U.S. News Map takes the archives, and we've always been able to find old news clips and microfiche available to us, but this one puts them on a map, and it puts it on a timeline at the same time. So imagine for a moment, I want to find the word internet, and I want to know where in the country it was ever written in a newspaper. And I can see that, and I can also play the timeline to see how it sprinkles throughout the map.
Interesting.
Yeah, it leads to amazing discussion. With that said, there's also something called Data USA, and you can find that at datausa.io. I am overwhelmed with the statistics here at this site. Pretty much anything that you want to search for, you can find visual statistics on it, and you can compare them to other statistics. I did a quick example. I decided to look at employment in the food industry compared to teachers, and I got all kinds of amazing overlaid graphics. I got all the data I could possibly want over time. Take a look at it. It's really easy to navigate the site, and I think for all the classes that deal with any kind of data, history, science, you name it, you're going to find something interesting there. Photos for class. Have you seen that one, Troy?
I have not. But you know
what creative. Yeah. You're big on Creative Commons.
Right.
And you're into the idea of making sure kids at least understand intellectual property, they understand what copyright is, etc. But what's our biggest hassle with images. We have to do what?
Cite them or source them.
You have to cite them. That's really hard, especially for younger kids. It's really hard. So Photos for Class does it for you. In other words, they do all the hard work. They make sure that no inappropriate photos are going to come up when you search. And when you download the photo, it already has the appropriate Creative Commons citation on the photo. It is pretty nice, and it takes all that guesswork out of it for the kids, but also for the teacher. You're not having to be concerned that they're going to run into something they don't need to see. Okay? Right. Yeah. So that was 29. You jumped to one.
And I'm marking some of these because, yeah, a lot of these I could start using, you know, if we went on holiday break, I could start using them right away. One that you put in, and I think we skipped it, the Chromebooks overtake iPads, which, but then you added that the Chromebooks now support Android apps, which is great too. Right? It
is. So that you can go to the Google Play Store on a Chromebook and you can load pretty much any of the apps. Now, most of the Chromebooks that are supporting that are the touchscreen Chromebooks, and I do want to say that there's a reason for that. Chromebooks are amazing. They're innovative. They are useful, way beyond what anyone envisioned. And I think that's the plan, is to continue to program, especially for education. And as you know, if you're running a Google Apps for Education dashboard, you know that bringing those Chromebook in, it's pretty easy to manage them. And I think it makes it doable for any size school district.
We have carts of both iPads and Chromebooks, and I have some students helping me in the mornings do a few different things. And the other day I said, well, gosh, it's about time we update all the iPads and clean them up, delete things that shouldn't be on there, and all that. And I said, well, that's going to take several hours. And one of the kids was like, well, can we do the Chromebooks too? I said, that'll take me about 5 minutes. You know, and the student, she was a 7th grader, she was like stunned at I explained the process for both, and she was stunned at. And I don't want to criticize iPads. They have a great place, but the management features from somebody from the management side, Chromebooks are so much easier.
Yeah. We mentioned Flipped earlier in this particular show, and there used to be a company called Educator, and they've changed their name to PlayPosit.
Okay.
And really, it's among a smattering of other companies like this that you're able to take some video and you're adding some questions to make it more interactive. But with the change of the name, they've done innovation. PlayPosit now actually allows for discussion during the video, so classroom discussion. That's something that I was looking forward to, and now they have it. I can see your classroom being a 24/7 environment instead of it has to be the time and the place that is scheduled. And that's where we're going probably with blended learning. Are you familiar with Formative?
I've heard of it, but I can't think of what it is off the top of my head.
Well, Formative is one of those, again, it's another type of assessment tool, kind of like Socrative or Socrative. But one of the things Formative can do is upload directly from a Word document or a PDF and create those quizzes. It also has a writing tool, so you can see things maybe that are done in handwriting, like math teachers want to see. So Formative is something a little bit different, and probably should take a look at that one as well. I know you know Canva.
Yep. Canva's good for infographics and some interactive or digital posters.
I'll be honest, I don't think Canva was new in 2016, but Yeah, I think education found it in 2016 because suddenly I have so many teachers that have said, where has this been all my life? I can now make really nice, creative graphics that I wasn't able to do before. Right. Oh, I'll jump back to 31. That Canva was 39. I'm going to jump back to 31. I missed one just to say, from the makers of Photos for Class, the same company is making Quick Rubric.
Okay.
Open up Quick Rubric. Literally, you type it in a form and boom, you've got a rubric, and they give you suggestions. It's so fast. Anybody who doesn't even know what a rubric is can make one. It's that easy. I would suggest that maybe some students make their own self-assessment rubrics and see what you get with that.
Interesting. We have this lab for physics apps. What's that?
Oh, so you can load them on your phone, and they will provide you a place for all your data when you're doing labs. I was looking at it, but I have to say, I know a lot of companies will provide something similar to that, but Lab for Physics is a little bit easier to deal with. You've got, it automatically gives you the graphics that you need, like your charts and your tables, but it'll do things like temperature, and it'll do sound waves. It's got a variety of different applications for physics, and I just threw it in there because I saw it quickly and I thought it looked like a great app to get people started. I'm going to add Web Plot Digitizer. Now, for those of you who understand that Google Apps have these inside the apps, you can do add-ons to make the apps more powerful. And Google Sheets has always been considered a second-class citizen to Excel. I'm thinking folks just haven't looked at the add-ons. Amazing number of add-ons to create the powerful types of applications you can do in Excel. This one, though, has an educational application. Web Plot Digitizer takes a graph and it gets you to the math equation that made the graph. In other words, it's backwards design. You can scan a graph that you've made, maybe a line graph, maybe a bar graph, and it will then go to the math equation. So if you're working on paper and you're having them do a line graph on paper based on an equation, I'd like to have them then scan it into Web Plot Digitizer and see where you go from there, just to see that they're correct.
Interesting.
Kind of a neat, interesting inquiry-based lesson as well. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then, are we getting near the end? Are we losing some?
Yeah, we have three, by my tally, we have 3 left, and I'm going to change the last one on you. That's what I've been holding out.
Oh, how unfair. Epic Pen. You know Epic Pen, right?
Yeah.
Epic Pen is, everybody's got like smart boards or they've got Promethean boards and they've spent a lot of money on these, and Epic Pen basically does it for free. Epic Pen, you can write on anything. You can write on a web page, you can write on a Word document, you can highlight, you can draw shapes. You got that toolbar that we're really familiar with in like Smart Tools, and it's the same and it's free, and you just load it on your computer and there you go.
Well, not related, but having the same name was the Epic app. And I don't know if this came out in 2016, but my elementary teachers discovered it and love it. And it's books that the kids can go through on the iPad. They use it on the iPad, and it also has a web interface. But books that they can go through, they can pick certain parts to listen to, and she can assign books through it. You know, the teacher can assign books through it and things like that. And I hear a lot of teachers use that when they have different downtimes or they have different stations, and they'll say, okay, you go to Epic, and the kids just go crazy. Oh yeah, great. So not the same thing, but the same name.
And we should have done this for this podcast, number 48. We should have done the action items in Docs, because you can actually assign to people now something for them to do inside a doc. So if you're doing group projects, students can actually assign, hey, you take this part, you take this part. You use a plus and then your username, and it'll say, do you want to assign them this? And you say yes, and give them a task. And they can actually finish the task. It's kind of like a little checkbox. It's over there in the commenting section. I've started using it to myself, note to self, because when I see it in Drive, I can actually see that there is a task in a document. So I've got reminders that, oh, there's something for me to do there.
And that's good, because I've been trying to use Basecamp, and it's a great tool, but it's outside of Google, and it's a whole nother layer of stuff the kids have to remember. And if you have kids that struggle to contribute a lot to a group, and you're trying to help them contribute, adding another layer of something that they have to remember how to use and do sometimes makes it harder. So yeah, Google Docs made that a little bit easier. So that's 49 of the 50.
Oh boy, drum roll, because you're gonna surprise me.
I am. So I was just thinking about it while we were talking about some of this other stuff, and I'm surprised I didn't. It's not something new, but I think has taken off in 2016 is sketchnoting.
Oh.
And visual note taking's been around for a while, but it seems like in education, sketchnoting really has taken off this year. And there's a lot of people doing it. There's more books coming out on it, and it just seems, and maybe it's because of the visual nature of Twitter and Instagram and stuff, that people are tweeting out their sketch notes more often and things like that, but it just seems to really have taken a big leap this year. It seems like more and more teachers are using it.
I think we did a whole podcast on sketchnoting.
we did at one time. We did, yes. We've done a podcast on a lot of these.
I would also like to just say, I think sketchnoting is part of the whole revolution of creativity being emphasized in school and promoted, and students have that outlet finally, even in note-taking, which used to be somewhat of a dry exercise in class. It's becoming an outlet for them, and that's where we want to go.
Yep. So that's 50 innovations we saw in education for 2016. Sure, we probably missed some that happened maybe in January of 2016, or some of them people might say, that's not really that new, and it just became new to us. And so we, I think we're both pretty on top of what's new, but yeah, but sometimes we miss something and then it comes across our plate and we're like, wow, this is great. So
I'm sure 2017 will have at least 50, if not, let's hope for more, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm foreseeing some major changes in a lot of areas, particularly like the publishing aspect that we talked about. I think there's going to be a lot of changes in how we consume content in 2017. That's really going to take off. I think virtual reality is probably going to eventually take off.
And honestly, blended, you're going to see many more interactive sites that teachers can create on their own with very little effort.
Yeah, yeah. So that's our show for today. Can't say that I know when we'll do another show, unfortunately.
In the new year. All right. Yeah. Yeah. And I wish everybody a wonderful break and Happy New Year.
Take the time to enjoy the break, and then start. I've got a lot of sites and stuff that I need to check out now that you had alerted me to or told me about updates that I haven't seen yet. So,
and so does everyone else.
Well, Joan, and to the listeners, we will talk to you again soon.
All right, cheers.
My screen was frozen and I couldn't